Yidam, and protector, Dharma protectors. And so therefore, that's at another level, but that doesn't mean higher level. That just means that person is also perceiving what is already there. It's not fabricated. We don't want to do that. Then we'll be creating delusions instead of transforming them. So reality is boundless means for that person who's at the slightly has studied a little bit longer, and then therefore they would see those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Dakas and Dakinis and Yidam, which is our main deity that we practice, that we feel some connection with. When we do Guru Yoga, and then we feel all the blessings. So, the last one, the awakened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you practice Guru Yoga, and then you're getting all the blessings from your teachers, all the lineage masters. So, I am a Rime, which is non-sectarian. It means that I've studied Nyima, Kaji, Satya, and Gelu. But I've also studied with other subsects of Kagyu and Satya, and then also I've studied with Jonang school of Sakya, with His Holiness Kalkaji Dza Patrul Rinpoche from Mongolia, and he's known as Bogda, the eyes of the Buddha. So, yesterday we could have recited, if we wanted to, Om Amitabha Hri. Now we want to do that at least 108 times using our mala or prayer beads, whichever you prefer to call them. Or we could recite Om Mani Padme Hung Hri. Now, what I'm hoping for is that we'll make a lifetime commitment of 1 million Mani mantras. Now, if we want to say these mantra, a Tibetan mantra or Sanskrit mantra, that's fine. We don't have to do that. Whatever school that we belong to of Mahayana Buddhism, for example, we could say Namo Kwan Suyen Pusa. She is the Bodhisattva of Compassion for the Chinese school of Buddhism, the Mahayana school of Buddhism. So therefore, we don't have to say Om Mani Padme Hung. We can say Namo Kwan Suyen Pusa. Okay. Or we could say, instead of Om Amitabha Hri, we could say Namo Amitofo. Now, again, we can say in Vietnamese, if we belong to a Vietnamese temple, we can say Namo Quan Te Am Bo Da. Okay, that's a Bodhisattva of Compassion. And she is like Guan Yin, same. And then we could also say Namo Aida Fa. Okay, that means the name of Amitabha Buddha. So that's different ways of saying it. Different schools has different ways, and you don't have to say it exactly the same way I said it in Tibetan. Okay. Now we're going to recite the saying of Shantideva, which is what we do in Tibetan Buddhism when we take our Bodhisattva vows. For as long as space remains, and as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the suffering of all beings. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. That is from Bodhicarayavatara, written by Shantideva. Now, of course, Tsongkhapa has written text. I believe it's called The Lamp of Illumination. And jewel ornament of liberation, something like that. I deeply apologize to my brothers and sisters in the Gelugpa school. It's been quite some time. I did take Lamrim Chenmo, and I do sometimes do the 7-limb branch offering. So therefore, I can do that. No difference. Separation occurs in the mind only. There's no real separation. We shouldn't think like that. Okay. Now I'll say it in Tibetan, and if you can please follow along with me. I'll give a wave to people who are watching. So, if you recite after me, please. Sanje Chodan Soje Chenam Chanju Bardu Dani Chapsu Jo Dani Jinso Jipe Sonam Chi Rola Panje Sanje Jupar So Sanje Chedan Soje Chenam La Chanju Bardu Dani Chapsu Cho Dani Jinso Jipe Sonam Chi Rola Panje Sanje Drupar So. Okay, after repeating that 3 times, which I hope everyone did, if you didn't, it's okay, you can do it at your own time. I'm not sure that what time I'm reaching everyone, but this is a live broadcast for people to take live Bodhisattva vows. And then I hope that you will keep them as purely as possible. And if you have questions, I am in Vajrayana, Vajrayana with a half circle around it, Tibetan, and another half circle, Buddhism. I'm the administrator for that Rime, non-sectarian Buddhism group. So you can always write your questions to me there. I'm the administrator. I'm fortunate enough to have the honor to serve all the Sangha there. And I am the administrator of Global Buddhist Sangha as well. So you can place your question about this ceremony in either group, or you can just write it out now as you're watching if you have questions. So let's say again, please, the teaching of Shantideva from the Bodhicarayavatara. For as long as space remains, and as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the suffering of all sentient beings. For as long as space endures, and for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too abide, until to dispel the misery of the world. Now that is from Bodhicarayavatara, which is the Bodhisattva way of life, from Shantideva. Now Shantideva was a saint, and then he spent a lot of time eating and sleeping. And then the other monks didn't kind of know what was going on with Shantideva, but he wrote this text, and then he went up into the sky. His voice kind of came like a loudspeaker down to them, and then they realized that, oh, Shantideva is really some kind of amazing teacher. When we put others before ourselves, when we serve others before ourselves, as the example of Dza Patrul Rinpoche, and he acted as a servant to this woman, even carrying her baby on his back to go to the place when they finally came to the teaching place Of course, he was giving teaching, so he had to go up and sit in the chair. Now, we give prostrations to the seat before we sit down. And why do we do that? Because we don't want to have any grasping at the idea of that I'm special and those people down there are not. I'm giving them the teaching. No, you're just simply imparting what you have learned from your teacher, continuing the tradition, the same as the Buddha did, of an oral tradition. So we give 3 prostrations to the seat, and then when we take the seat, we try to embody the qualities of the Buddha or Bodhisattva, whichever empowerment or blessing that we're giving. So there's a reason for that. And then let's go over these Bodhisattva vows again for the Chan tradition and the Zen tradition. So, however innumerable sentient beings are, I vow to free them all. Okay. Creations are numberless, I vow to free them all. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to transform them. Reality is boundless, I vow to perceive it. The awakened way is unsurpassable, I vow to embody it. Okay, I'll just give a wave to everyone who's waving. Okay, waving back. Hi. Yes, a monk can have humor. It's okay. And now let's go over what Santideva recited for our Bodhisattva vows. For as long as space remains, and as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the suffering of all sentient beings. Okay. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. Now that is from Bodhicarayavatara, or we can say Bodhisattva Way of Life, and that was written by the saint Shantideva. I'm sorry, I was about to say Bodhisattva Shantideva. He is a Bodhisattva because he wrote the Bodhicarayavatara, which is the Bodhisattva Vows. So he's a living example, just like His Holiness Dalai Lama. It is the Nirmanakaya emanation of Chenrezik for the people of Tibet and other places also. And then, of course, for Kasarpani Chenrezik, which is in Bhutan, Drukyu, and then we have His Holiness Shadrung Rinpoche. And I have absolutely no doubt, due to my personal experience, of seeing the physical form of His Holiness Dalai Lama and the physical form of His Holiness Shadrung Rinpoche transform into the Bodhisattva. So therefore, that wouldn't be possible if they were not really Bodhisattvas. Sometimes, now, we can think that that is ordinary human beings. And we look and we say, oh, that's that old teacher. Of course, that's at the relative level, and we are getting some teaching. That's good. But some people are blessed, and fortunately enough, due to karma, that we are able to see something that is already there. Not special, not fabricated, but something already there. So when I looked at Holiness Dalai Lama during the 1,000-armed Chenrezig, I didn't see Holiness physical form. I saw 1,000-armed Chenrezig. So that's okay. If you didn't see that, that's all right. It doesn't mean I'm seeing something that's not there. It just means that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. And that's okay too. And then, of course, when I looked at the physical form of Holiness Shadrung Rinpoche, and then I couldn't see him anymore when he was giving the empowerment. I could only see Kasarpani Chenrezik. Now, why is that? Because he is the Nirmanakaya emanation of Kasarpani Chenrezik for the people of Bhutan. There's no doubt in my mind, either case, that both of them are bodhisattvas, living bodhisattvas. And I can say both because I had this equal experience with both. But I've also had this blessing experience with other teachers that I made a heart connection with. My root lama also, from Golok, Tibet, Tirtan Nakpa Urgent Kusum Lengpa Rinpoche, and then there Chadrituku Rinpoche, and then other teachers. Chabjilang Rinpoche was my previous incarnation teacher, and Rigzen Pema Lengpa was my previous teacher in Bhutan. He's Tuku, not the original one. The original one was many years ago. And then, of course, you know, when we get the blessing, that doesn't mean something's happening that's not true. And it also doesn't make us a special person if we get the blessing of seeing the teacher as the deity. As whatever empowerment they're giving, we don't see the teacher as physical form. We don't say that's old teacher or young teacher. We actually see that empowerment deity that he's offering. Now, why is that? Because they've reached the attainment level where they're able to offer the blessing. And that's the seed potential which is already present in you. You already are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Dakas and Dakinis, and Yidam. So therefore, that's Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, is already present in you. It's just waiting to wake up and be naturally present. So we don't have to contrive something or fabricate something. That's not what the Buddha wants us to do. We relax our mind and we let go of this very strong ego grasping, I, me, mine, and that will cause us great suffering. And then not only that, we'll cause suffering for those around us, but we can free our mind into the natural state, that Tathagata Garbha. We can realize that in one lifetime if we practice sincerely.